When the Terran exploration ship Vanguard entered orbit above the silver world of Elthera, Lieutenant Mason did not expect to become the center of alien attention. He was a systems officer, not a diplomat or scientist. The mission was supposed to be routine, make peaceful contact, exchange data, and leave. But from the first hour on the surface, everything began to change. Elthera was beautiful, almost dreamlike. The cities glowed faintly, as if carved from crystalline light. The air shimmered with soft silver dust that danced whenever people moved. The Eltherons themselves were tall, graceful beings with eyes that reflected starlight. They were calm, polite, and spoke through gentle harmonics that made every word sound like a song. Mason admired them, though he always felt clumsy beside their elegance. The mission scientists discovered something worrying. The Eltheran population had been shrinking for generations. Their genetic code was failing. Their once-strong biology had weakened after thousands of years of peace and isolation. They no longer had the ability to repair themselves fully, and many children were being born frail or sterile. The Eltherans had tried cloning and technology, but nothing worked. They needed outside help. That help turned out to be Mason. It happened during a council meeting. The Eltheran High Scholar, a tall figure wrapped in flowing silver robes, spoke to the human delegation. "Among your kind, one carries a resonance compatible with ours," the translator announced. "His name is Mason." Everyone turned to look at him. Mason almost dropped his datapad. Me. A younger Eltheran woman stepped forward. She was different from the others, curious, confident, yet kind. Her name was Sarai, the scholar's daughter, and one of Elthera's leading bioengineers. She studied Mason as if trying to see through him. "Your DNA carries balance," she said softly. "It holds something our ancestors once had, something we lost long ago." Mason blinked, unsure whether to feel proud or terrified. "So, you want my DNA?" The translator repeated her words. "Yes. We ask for your DNA to rebuild life." The room fell silent. The human commander cleared his throat. "You mean genetic material? Samples? That can be arranged scientifically." But the Eltherons exchanged puzzled looks. "Samples?" Sarai asked, tilting her head. "Our customs require that life be shared naturally." Mason frowned. "Naturally," they explained. For Eltherons, natural didn't mean physical contact, it meant a harmonic union, a process of mental and energy connection. Through that link, two beings could merge thoughts and life signatures, transferring genetic resonance directly through consciousness. It was sacred, spiritual, and ancient. It wasn't about biology alone. It was about trust, empathy, and shared purpose. Mason felt a bit relieved. "Okay," he said. "That's not what I thought you meant." The other humans laughed quietly, tension easing. Still, the idea of having his mind linked with an alien was strange. "Why me?" he asked. Sarai smiled, a faint light dancing in her silver eyes. "Because your pattern sings the same note as ours. No other human does." The council decided that Sarai would guide Mason through the process. He would stay in the capital for 10 days, learn their methods, and decide if he wished to continue. Mason agreed, though he didn't fully understand what was coming. His first day in Elthera City was overwhelming. Buildings floated slightly above the ground, powered by quiet energy flows. Gardens glowed under twin suns. Rivers shimmered like liquid glass. Everything was calm and perfect to perfect, Mason thought. Like a world holding its breath, Sarai showed him the crystal gardens, where the air hummed with faint power. "This is where life begins for us," she said. "Every birth, every union, every song of renewal happens under this light." She taught him meditation, breath patterns, and emotional discipline. The Eltherans believed that fear, anger, or selfishness could poison the link. "The bond must be pure," Sarai said. "You must open your heart, not just your mind." Mason tried his best, though sitting cross-legged on glowing stone wasn't his idea of comfort. He often ended up losing focus, thinking about Earth, about coffee, rain, and the sound of old music in the barracks. Sarai would smile patiently whenever his mind drifted. "Your thoughts move fast," she said. "Humans carry storms inside," he laughed. "That's one way to put it," Over the next few days, they trained together. Mason began to sense faint vibrations in the air, almost like invisible music. The Eltherans called it the pulse, the living rhythm of their planet. Sarai said that when two beings shared that rhythm perfectly, the harmonic bond could form. On the seventh day, Sarai led Mason to the Hall of Mirrors, a great dome made of transparent crystal, surrounded by silver trees. The council waited outside, while the two stepped inside. The chamber glowed softly, and lines of light rose from the floor, tracing symbols in the air. Sarai faced him. "You were ready?" she said. Mason took a deep breath. "What do I do?" "Trust me." She reached out her hands. Hesitating only a moment, he placed his palms against hers. The crystal under their feet pulsed. A wave of warmth moved through his arms, into his chest, and suddenly he wasn't just seeing Sarai. He was inside her thoughts. Images exploded in his mind, memories of Elthera's oceans. Ancient songs, skies full of light, the sorrow of losing entire generations to sickness. He could feel her emotions, fear, duty, hope, and she felt his, the chaos of Earth, the rush of battle training, stubborn determination of a species that refused to quit. Their minds intertwined like threads of light. Mason wanted to pull back, but Sarai's calm voice echoed inside him. "Do not fear. Let the current carry you." He focused, breathing slowly. The connection deepened until their heartbeats matched. Then something strange happened. The crystal chamber began to glow brighter. The council members outside gasped as readings spiked across their instruments. Sarai's body trembled. Mason felt her pain for an instant, then relief. The bond had awakened something dormant inside her cells. Her genetic code was rewriting itself, guided by Mason's human resonance. The translator outside shouted, "It works. The human's pattern stabilizes the Eltheran decay." Mason didn't understand all the science, but he could feel energy rushing through him like lightning. He was part of something bigger than himself, something ancient and powerful. The walls of the chamber pulsed like a heartbeat, and the light reached the ceiling in a spiral of gold and silver. After what felt like hours, the energy faded. Mason fell to one knee, dizzy. Sarai steadied him. Her eyes glowed softly now, more alive than before. "It is done," she whispered. "You have given us life again." He stared at her, breathing hard. "That's good, right?" She smiled. "Better than good. You restored what our science could not." Outside, the council bowed in gratitude. Mason could barely stand, but inside he felt a quiet pride. He hadn't just followed orders, he had saved a civilization. That night, Elthera's skies blazed with color as the twin suns set. The people sang across the city a melody of thanks that reached even the orbiting ships. Mason watched from a balcony, exhausted but at peace. Sarai stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. "You humans are strange," she said. "You fear everything, yet you walk into the unknown without hesitation." Mason chuckled weakly. "We call that courage, or stupidity. Sometimes both." She turned to him. "Whichever it is, it saved us." As the stars rose, Mason looked at the horizon glowing faintly blue. He realized that for the first time since the mission began, he didn't feel like a visitor. He felt connected to this world, to these people, and to the strange harmony between their lives. He didn't understand the science, or the prophecy the Eltherans whispered about him. But one thing was clear. Humanity had once again done what others thought impossible. They hadn't come to conquer or control. They came to help. And by simply being human curious, stubborn, and kind, they had changed the stars. Far above, the vanguard floated silently, recording the first proof that life between worlds could unite not through power, but through understanding. And somewhere deep inside the crystal hall, faint light still shimmered in the pattern of two hands joined together, one human. One alien forever echoing the day when a man from Earth shared not his weapons or his pride, but the simple living code of what it meant to be human. After the initial bonding ritual, Mason's life on Elthera changed completely. He was no longer a simple systems officer. He was now part of a story that would reshape an entire civilization. Each day brought new challenges. But Mason faced them with the quiet determination that had carried him through countless missions on Earth. Sarai became his guide and constant companion. She was patient and insightful, teaching him not only about the harmonic bond, but also about Eltheran culture and science. Mason discovered that their understanding of life was deeper than anything he had imagined. Their cities, built on the principle of resonance, thrived on harmony between energy, biology, and consciousness. Every tree, building, and river was linked in a subtle network that maintained the planet's delicate balance. One morning, Sarai brought Mason to the Academy of Resonance, a grand hall filled with instruments and glowing panels. "Here," she said, "we will teach you the next step. The bond does more than transfer DNA. It allows us to share energy, emotions, and ideas. To stabilize it fully, you must participate willingly, with focus and understanding." Mason nodded, though he was still uncertain. Each step in this process required a level of trust he had never given before. Back on Earth, humans relied on technology and tools. Here, his mind and heart were the instruments, and the results depended entirely on him. They began exercises that stretched Mason's concentration. He learned to listen to Sarai's thoughts without judgment, to respond with empathy, and to project calm energy through the connection. At first, he struggled. His mind would wander, drifting to memories of his home planet, the sounds of oceans, laughter of friends, or distant memories of past missions. Sarai never scolded him. She simply guided him back with gentle words and soft hand movements. As the days passed, Mason began to sense subtle changes in the environment. The air seemed richer, more vibrant, and the plants responded to the harmonic energy he now carried. Even the city's glow appeared brighter when he walked its streets. He realized that the connection with Sarai and the harmonic bond was influencing more than just their two bodies. It was radiating outward, subtly restoring life to the planet. One evening, the council summoned Mason and Sarai to the Hall of Mirrors. "Your next test," said the High Scholar, "is to perform the complete harmonic union. This will permanently integrate your human resonance with the Eltheran DNA. It is the moment that decides the future of our species." Mason swallowed hard. The thought of such a permanent connection was frightening. "What exactly will happen?" he asked. Sarai looked at him calmly. "Your mind will merge with mine for the duration. Your DNA will synchronize with my cells. The process is entirely safe, but it requires trust and clarity. Fear or hesitation can disrupt it." He nodded, remembering the first bond. It had been exhausting, but enlightening. He felt ready, though his heart raced. The ceremony began in the Hall of Mirrors, under a dome of radiant crystal. Lines of energy traced intricate patterns across the floor, pulsing in harmony with the planet's natural frequencies. Mason and Sarai faced each other, hands extended. The moment their palms met, the energy surged. Mason felt an immediate rush, like stepping into a river of light. Thoughts and memories flowed between them, faster than anything he had experienced before. He saw Elthora through Sarai's eyes, the struggles, the losses, the dreams of her people. And she saw Earth, the chaos and beauty of humanity. The small victories and stubborn persistence that defined him. The connection deepened. Mason felt the rhythm of Sarai's heartbeat, matched perfectly with his own. It was more than understanding. It was shared life. The fusion of their consciousness activated latent abilities in Sarai's cells. She gasped as Mason's DNA resonance began to repair the defects that had plagued her people for centuries. Outside the chamber, the council monitored the process with awe. Sensors indicated an unprecedented stabilization of the Eltheran genome. Their species' survival, which had been in doubt for centuries, now depended on a human's willingness to connect and trust. Hours passed, though to Mason it felt like minutes. He and Sarai moved through memories, emotions, and energy, exploring the depths of each other's beings. Mason realized something extraordinary. Being human meant carrying resilience, curiosity, and adaptability in ways the Eltherans had never experienced. Sarai smiled at him in thought, and he understood without words that their species were now linked in a bond stronger than any. Law, or technology. When the ceremony concluded, Mason stumbled slightly, exhausted but exhilarated. Sarai steadied him, her silver eyes reflecting gratitude and wonder. "It is done," she said softly. "Our species is safe because of your courage and your willingness to share your life." For Mason, the lesson was clear. Humans were not perfect, and their technology was not always superior. But the combination of heart, mind, and persistence could accomplish what advanced civilizations might consider impossible over the next few days. Mason observed the effects of the bonding. Sarai's health and energy levels improved dramatically, and the subtle glow that defined the Eltherans brightened throughout the city. The energy flows in the environment strengthened, causing plants to grow faster and rivers to glow more vividly. Mason realized that humans, even without advanced alien powers, could catalyze life simply through courage, empathy, and determination. But not all was peaceful. News reached them that a faction of Eltherans opposed the integration of human DNA. They believed that allowing an outsider to influence their species threatened purity and tradition. The faction began to sabotage the energy networks, hoping to disrupt the harmonic bond and prevent further stabilization. Mason understood the threat. While he had thought the union with Sarai would solve everything, he now faced political resistance from a faction willing to risk their own people for ideology. "They underestimate us," he said to Sarai one evening. "Humans don't give up easily." She nodded, a faint smile on her lips. "You are right, human. That's stubbornness. It carries power we have never known." Together they formulated a plan. Mason would help the Eltherons protect the harmonic nodes, using both human strategy and the Eltheron energy systems. While humans lacked the intricate energy manipulation of the Eltherans, Mason's unpredictability and ability to improvise gave them an advantage. He suggested simple yet clever diversions, traps, and strategies that the faction could not anticipate. The first confrontation occurred near the Great Crystal Spire, where the main energy node connected the city's network. Mason and a team of loyal Eltherons faced the saboteurs. The humans' quick thinking and improvisation turned the battle in their favor. He redirected energy pulses to create barriers, coordinated with Sarai to stabilize the network, and guided the Eltherons to positions they would not have considered on their own. By the end of the day, the faction retreated, defeated but not destroyed. Mason knew this was only the beginning. The true test of the harmonic bond and human resilience had only just begun. Despite the tension, Mason and Sarai spent quiet moments together, reflecting on the bond they had formed. "Your species," Sarai said one evening, "feels everything so deeply. The joy, the fear, the hope, it all flows through you." Mason laughed softly. "We call it life. Sometimes messy, sometimes beautiful." Sarai placed her hand on his arm. "Your life has saved many, not because of your strength, but because of your heart." For the first time, Mason felt the weight of his own significance. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, a soldier among many. But here, on a distant alien world, he realized that human courage and persistence were extraordinary in ways even advanced civilizations could not match. Days turned into weeks. Mason continued to train with Sarai, refining the bond and stabilizing the genetic resonance. He learned to sense subtle changes in the environment, the faint pulses of energy that indicated the health of the population. He discovered that humans, in their unpredictability, introduced small variations that strengthened the Eltheran code instead of weakening it. Every laugh, mistake, and act of determination made the bond more effective. The Eltheran children, once fragile and weak, began to show vitality. The city's gardens thrived as the bond spread outward. Even the rivers pulsed brighter, as if reflecting the human resilience Mason had brought. But Mason also noticed changes in Sarai. The connection had amplified human traits in her mind: curiosity, daring, and emotional depth. She sometimes laughed at odd things, pondered ideas humans took for granted, and occasionally showed frustration when plans went wrong. Mason found it amusing and touching. Humanity had left a mark not only on her biology, but on her way of thinking. Late one night, Mason stood on a balcony overlooking the city with Sarai. The twin suns had set, leaving a sky filled with sparkling stars. "Do you think humans will ever come back?" she asked softly. Mason shrugged. "Maybe, but you don't need us to survive now. You have life again, and you'll continue to grow." She looked at him with intensity. "No, it is more than survival. You have taught us courage. You have shown us that life can be shared, not taken. That is more powerful than anything we know." Mason smiled faintly, feeling both humble and proud. That's humanity's way. We don't always do it right, but we never stop trying. The city pulsed below them, vibrant and alive, a living testament to the bond be. Months had passed since Mason first arrived on Elthera. What had begun as a mission of observation and diplomacy had transformed into a journey that neither humans nor Eltherans could have predicted. The bond between Mason and Sarai had stabilized the Eltheran genome and strengthened their society. The energy of the planet itself seemed more vibrant, and the people's once fading vitality now flourished. Mason had become more than a visitor. He was a symbol, a living bridge between two civilizations. Sarai had grown into her human-enhanced vitality. Her mind carried glimpses of Earth's unpredictability, its humor and emotional depth, which she now used to teach her people new ways of thinking and problem-solving. Her laughter, once rare and quiet, now rang freely through the crystal gardens. She moved with a subtle grace, but her decisions had become bolder. Influenced by the courage she had observed in Mason, despite their progress, the faction of Eltherons opposed to the integration of human DNA had not disappeared. They believed that introducing human influence would taint the purity of their species. They had attempted sabotage, tried to destabilize the energy networks, and even spread propaganda to turn others against Mason. But each attempt failed. It's not only because of Mason's strategies, but because the people themselves began to embrace the bond. The promise of life and renewal had inspired hope stronger than fear. One morning, Mason stood on the highest balcony of the council spire, overlooking the city as twin suns rose in the sky. The light reflected off the crystalline towers, casting a rainbow of colors across the landscape. Sarai joined him, her expression calm yet focused. "They are planning another attack," she said. "We have received intelligence that the faction intends to strike at the central harmonic node tonight. If they succeed, it could undo months of progress." Mason nodded, his jaw tightening. "Then we stop them. We've done it before and we can do it again." Together, they gathered a team of loyal Eltherans. Mason trained them in human improvisation and tactics, blending it with their own energy manipulation abilities. They planned diversions, protective barriers, and communication signals to counter any assault. Mason's human ingenuity, combined with Eltheran precision, created a defensive strategy that no opposing faction could anticipate. Night fell, and the city's lights shimmered like stars on the ground. Mason and Sarai moved through the streets, quietly observing the energy flows and ensuring stability. The atmosphere was tense, but Mason felt a quiet thrill. This was the kind of challenge humans thrived on: the uncertainty, the problem-solving, the chance to make a difference. The first wave of the faction arrived near the Great Harmonic Node. Mason and his team were ready. They redirected energy flows to create illusions of movement, confusing the attackers. Sarai used the harmonic bond to anticipate their actions, subtly influencing their energy and creating openings for Mason's team to intercept. The battle was not physical in the traditional sense. It was a contest of strategy, energy, manipulation, and wit. Mason watched as his human instincts complemented the Eltharian abilities. Where they hesitated, he improvised. Where they overanalyzed, he acted decisively. Together, they neutralized the threat without causing harm to the attackers, proving that courage, intelligence, and empathy could win without violence. After the confrontation, the city celebrated. Mason was lauded not as a hero in the sense of war, but as a catalyst for life. Sarai approached him amidst the crowd, her eyes glowing with gratitude. "You have given us more than stability," she said. "You have shown our people that life can be shared without fear, that courage and heart are as important as skill and knowledge. You have changed us forever." Mason smiled, feeling both humility and pride. "I just did what any human would do. Don't give up easily, and we try to help where we can." The council then presented him with a rare honor, a medallion symbolizing the phoenix, a mythical creature from Eltheron history representing rebirth and resilience. Mason accepted it quietly, knowing that it symbolized not just him, but the unity of their two species. As weeks turned into months, Mason and Sarai continued their work. The bond they shared had long-term effects on both their species. The children, born after the integration, carried a mix of human adaptability and Eltheran elegance. They were stronger, healthier, and capable of thinking creatively in ways the older generation had not imagined. The city thrived, the gardens flourished, and the energy networks became self-sustaining. Mason began to understand that humans, in their resilience and curiosity, could influence life in ways that no advanced technology could replicate. During this time, Mason also discovered that being human meant carrying an endless capacity for hope and determination. Even when faced with political resistance, energy disruptions, and the pressure of saving a civilization, he remained steady. It was a quality that Eltherans admired and emulated. Sarai, too, changed in ways she did not fully anticipate. The bond amplified human traits within her mind: empathy, courage, and creativity. She began to experiment with new methods of teaching, combining Eltheran precision with human improvisation. Under her guidance, the younger generation developed skills that allowed them to innovate while preserving their culture. One evening, as they walked through the crystal gardens, Mason noticed children playing near the glowing rivers, laughing freely. The sight filled him with a quiet joy. "They're growing up stronger," he said, "stronger than I ever imagined." Sarai smiled, her hand brushing against his. "And it is because of you. Your species taught us that life can be resilient when shared with heart. You are part of our legacy, Mason." He felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun's. Being human was often described as ordinary, but in this moment, he understood the extraordinary impact humanity could have. The simple act of trust, courage, and empathy had rippled across an entire world, changing the destiny of a civilization. Yet Mason knew his mission on Elthera could not last forever. Humans had responsibilities back on Earth, and he had promised to report the outcomes of the mission. The bond, however, had created a permanent connection between him and Sarai, a link that would endure across space and time. The day of his departure arrived. Mason stood on the launch platform, the Terran shuttle ready to ascend. Sarai approached him, her silver eyes reflecting the twin suns. "You will always be part of us," she said. "The bond you have created will never fade. Our people, our children, they carry a piece of you within them." Mason placed his hand on hers, feeling the faint pulse of energy that connected them. "And I will carry a piece of you with me," he replied. "Humans don't forget those who change their worlds." As the shuttle lifted off, Mason looked down at the glowing city below. The towers, rivers, and gardens shimmered in vibrant colors, evidence of the life he had helped restore. Sarai stood on the balcony, waving, and he could feel her thoughts: gratitude, pride, and the quiet joy of hope renewed. Above the planet, Mason reflected on everything that had happened. Humans were often underestimated, even by advanced civilizations, yet their persistence, courage, and empathy were forces unlike any other in the universe. By simply being human, by trusting, adapting, and persevering, Mason had saved a species from decline. He had not used weapons, intimidation, or control. He had used heart, determination, the willingness to share life itself. The journey back to Earth was quiet, giving Mason time to contemplate the magnitude of his experience. He had witnessed a civilization on the brink of collapse, guided by an alien girl, restored not by technology alone, but by the core essence of humanity: its courage, creativity, and resilience. Upon arrival, he reported to the Terran command, describing the unique methods, the harmonic bond, and the incredible effects on the Eltheran genome. The findings were groundbreaking, providing evidence that human qualities were more influential than previously thought. Scientists and diplomats alike marveled at the implications. Humans could be catalysts for life and hope across galaxies. Weeks later, Mason received a transmission from Sarai. The connection, though stretched across space, remained intact through the harmonic bond. She shared images of the children, vibrant and healthy, carrying traces of human adaptability alongside Elthar and Grace. The city continued to thrive, and the faction that once opposed the integration had dissolved. Convinced by the undeniable benefits of cooperation and resilience, Mason smiled as he watched the images. He realized that the story of this mission would endure not just as a report, but as a testament to human potential. The courage to act, the willingness to trust, and the persistence to face the unknown were traits that transcended worlds. The legacy of the bond was clear. Humanity had left a permanent mark on Eltharont, by conquest, but by connection. The phoenix, symbol of rebirth, now represented both Eltharon resilience and the human spirit that had sparked it. Mason knew that wherever humans went in the universe, their essence could inspire life, hope, and courage in even the most distant civilizations. And so, Mason continued his life on Earth, carrying the memory of Elthara in his heart. He understood that humans were not invincible, but they were unstoppable in their will to survive, to help, and to endure. The bond with Sarai, and through her with an entire species, remained a quiet but